The next method we're going to create is called clear. So scope.clear equals function. And what this method will do, this is the method which will basically clear whatever we've typed into the text fields. So scope.item equals blank, and then scope.quantity equals blank, an empty string basically. And that's all this method does. And as you can see right now, that once we've executed this method, it will automatically make sure that inside of our HTML page, inside of our form, this field will become blank. As you can see from this method, that it's using this reverse, this two-way binding basically. We set it here and it's automatically updating the HTML. We don't have to do anything else like with jQuery, let's say, where we have to first find the element, then set its value and so on. That's all that needs to be done here inside of the Angular. Okay, next method we're going to do is scope insert. And this is the method which will actually add the new record to the database. So function, then semicolon at the end again. We're going to start with if scope dot good to go. If we're good to go, if everything has been filled correctly, then we can process it. Otherwise, don't do anything. Basically, that's what it does. And we use our HTTP service here. Then bracket and set of curly brackets after the closing bracket, obviously semicolon. And we start with method without the quotes. Method colon post. Then we go for URL, which will be our URL insert. Then we go for data, and data will be sent as a string, concatenated string. So item equals, and now concatenating with scope.item. Then we concatenating this with quantity. So and ampersand symbol, quantity equals, we go plus scope.quantity, then plus, we go for and again type equals, and we concatenate this with scope.type. What we could do rather than writing such long string, and obviously not semicolon here, it will be comma. Let's copy all this and let's create it inside of this. Before we call this, use our HTTP service, let's create variable, this data, for instance, assign it to it, and then let's just simply concatenate it. So this data plus equals, and the next set on the new line as well, this data plus equals, and this way it's a little bit shorter, obviously easier to read as well. So after the data colon this data, if I scroll up a little bit, after data we need to send headers as well. Headers, because we're using PHP, if we were using Node.js, then that would not be necessary. We could simply use the shorter version of this method. We could simply use post service rather than HTTP, which is a shorter version, similar way than jQuery when you've got get post as well, shorter versions. But because we're working with PHP, we need to use this approach. We could do some workaround, but let's just stick to this one for the time being. Okay, we go for content -type, and then we go for colon, and it's going to be application /x -www-form-url encoded. And after this, before the semicolon, we're gonna go on to the new line, indent success. On success, we are going to execute the function, pass the data returned from this AJAX call, and after the success, we will also have error. So indent error, and error will also have a function and a few parameters which we won't use, but let's put them just for the sake of knowing what they are. Data status, headers, and config. You may use them obviously if you need to, but we only going to, if I'm just going to scroll up here, throw new error. That's what we're going to do. And the error will say something went wrong with inserting record. And semicolon, obviously throw is with R. So this is our error here. But for the success, what we're going to do is first check if, and now we are going to create a new method in just a second called _record added successfully. And we pass our data as an argument for this. Then semicolon after this, and after the semicolon, scope dot clear. So we clear the fields, basically whatever values have been inside of the fields, we need to clear the form basically. And now inside of this, after this condition, if the condition obviously, oh, I've forgotten to the closing bracket here as well. What we're going to do is use the scope dot items dot push, and then set of curly brackets. I'll explain what all this does in just a moment. Actually, hold on a second. Wrong. This clear should be inside of this if statement after we added items to the array. This way. Okay, so we've got ID, which will be data item ID. Then we have item, which will be data item item. Then we have quantity, which will be data item QTY. Then we have type, which will be data item type. Then we have type underscore name, which is data item type underscore name. And then we have done, data item done. These are going to be returned by our PHP code basically, and obviously returned as JSON array, which is this data argument here. So that's what's going to happen if everything has been added successfully, but we haven't got this record added successfully method yet. So let's copy the name of this method, go above our insert one, and if we create a few new lines, start with function, and then the name of the function, data as argument, and inside of this we return, and we check if, semicolon after return, data exists, isn't empty obviously, and then isn't data error, which is one of the indexes returned with the JSON array, and then data item, if the index also exists. If all three equal true, then obviously that's going to return true, and we're going to proceed with whatever is inside of this if statement. So that's our insert method completed. Oh, actually, sorry, if statement, obviously we don't need the semicolon after this. So that's all good, and we don't need this closing brackets because this closing bracket is obviously out of here. Okay, so these are a few things I've missed here. Okay, let's move to the next video.